Antislam award winner for last. So if everybody please give a warm hand to Sez Thomasin.
Okay, I'm a gratuitous enthusiast of esoteric knowledge, and I know the type of thing that no one ever learns in college. I'm a treasure trove of staggeringly useless information. Right, there's a pub in Bolsover, it's called Quiet Woman. It's got a really interesting... And my lack of self-awareness can destroy a conversation. I make jokes about neutrinos. I don't care if you don't get it right. A neutrino and a light particle walk into a bar, and the neutrino says, "Why is it so dark in here?" And my loneliness can get me down. But I don't let it. Meeting people makes me nervous. Small talk scares me, I confess, but my knowledge of the periodic table must impress. Yes, my knowledge of the periodic table must impress. It's antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and I do not... And I've learned to know the fact I cannot wait to spill the beans, for I think of education as the end and not the means, but I simply do not understand why others do not care. Well, they never get excited by the trivia I share. I'm a demon at a pub quiz. For each answer I'll contest. I'm already banned from half of them for thinking I know best, but my scores are not the highest, for my knowledge is arcane. I don't care who won the tennis or the capital of Spain. Though I sometimes get discouraged, I won't stop till I succeed in convincing you that trivia is all you'll ever need. Never bored, but always thinking. Well, except before I speak. I don't need no social graces. I've got knowledge. I'm a geek. Thank you. And the next poem that I'm going to do. So they were both written several years before the autism diagnosis. But they kind of were the autism diagnosis. I just didn't know that at the time. This is called Gormy. I can't stop thinking about Amanda. I haven't seen her since 1995. I don't even know if she's still alive, but I can't stop thinking about her icy pale baby blue eyes and perfectly sculpted spiral perm hair, and a school uniform that looked like a school uniform you'd wear to a school disco-themed club night, not an actual school disco or an actual school, unless it was North Yorkshire in 1993 and you were the nearest thing for miles to cool. And I can feel her giving me the once-over. The up and down appraisal, my wrong length skirt, my wrong size shoes, my wrong length hair, my wrong size boobs, and the wrong expression on my face, and I brace for the judgment, and she says, "You're Gormy." And inside my head I'm thinking, well actually she's sort of right, because she probably means there's nothing going on behind my eyes, and actually there's too much going on behind my eyes. Like, how does she get her hair in that exact position every single day? And if we turned her upside down, would it still be trapped in stasis in that spray? And why is it cool that she's good at golf? But if I were good at golf, and I'm not good at golf, if I was good at golf, everyone would say being good at golf was pathetic, and how much money and how much time did she spend every day on cosmetics? And none of this can come out, and none of it can be said, because even if the words all didn't trip over my tongue as I came out, if I talked back to Amanda or Chantel or Joanne or any of them, I'd be dead. And I realise my face is doing it again. Deer in headlights, dazed and confused, any potential comeback choked in verbal vomit I'm attempting to hold back. I look Gormy. So if you see me in the street or in the pub or anywhere, and you say something nice or something funny or something friendly, and I just stand and stare, and you start to wonder if I like you or recognise you or have even realised that you're there, it's because 7 different potential replies that might be inappropriate are being filtered out. Then a tangent must be followed up, and I'm managing myself out, and then I'm realising I've left the silence too long. And then I'm taking stock of my whole life and wondering where I went wrong, and suddenly I'm not here at all. I'm in a technology lesson in North Yorkshire in 1993. Just Amanda and me. And she says, "You're Gormy." Thank you. I can memorise any poem you like. Can't memorise a set list to save my life. So that's why this is here. I've now said that, forget a poem, but we'll try. This is a poem that I wrote after the autism diagnosis a couple of years ago. I'm here representing the autists and Aspies and neuroatypicals, people who find interaction so difficult, try to blend in, but we can't with the crowd. We're either too quiet or suddenly loud at the wrong time, but sometimes we want to fit in, what we would give to feel kinship with actual kin, but the din of the crowd that we try to fade into is too much, it's too loud, it's too overwhelming, and all the well-meaning advice isn't helping, we suddenly snap. Oh. And now it's gone silent. Sorry, this is really inappropriate at this crowd because loads of autistic people are here. Usually I do this to neurotypicals. So just pretend, alright? They've all done it. your noise is just background, but our noise is violent. When we get on your noise, it's because we're a letdown. When you get on ours, we're just having a meltdown. We need to learn strategies, learn how to cope with the way that you are when you won't even meet us halfway. How about, nope. Because I'm not a piece of a jigsaw for you to just solve, and if you saw what we saw, you wouldn't be trying to take it away with a fix or a cure or a vaccine to blame. Because we can find beauty in numbers and trains and the intimate pattern of pattering rain and the way that the light hits the links in the train and the chain and historical plans of how Romans made drains. But you say we don't see the world as it's meant to be. Everything's wrong, and you say we've no empathy. Mate, we've so much that it's causing us pain, and we feel all the tension around us flood into our brains, and there's nothing to do but lock in on the numbers and patterns and theories and trains till it all ebbs away. And there's something like peace. But we can't stay that way. At least not when you're there to make us aware we're unnatural, unwanted, unhealthy, unfair. We need to police our responses, but you need to police our responses, but don't seem to care about what's underneath the blank stare. This world is so sharp that it cuts us, but we came prepared. There's places we know we can go when we're scared, and we know that it hurts you to know you can't follow us there. And I know that you think when I gaze into space that for you it's a source of disgrace when you can't see emotions you think I should feel on my face. And I know when I look at you blankly it causes alarm, because this isn't my soul that you see on my face. It's my armour. Thank you. Those 3 poems are all in the book that I have got 4 copies of, so 4 lucky people can buy it if they want. It's called Historical Plans of How Romans Made Drains, because I really, really like it when a book has a completely misleading title. I'm not very good at business. So this poem is, I did promise more feminist rants. I haven't seen it that much more recently, but there was a bit of a trend at one point on the internet. If you were female or perceived as female and you had an opinion, somebody would come and tell you to make them a sandwich. Mm-hmm. And I have a theory about why that happens. The misogynists were starving. They thought they'd soon be dead. They had some cheese and pickle and they had some sliced white bread, but they shook their heads and pondered and their lips began to tremble. These mysterious components they just could not assemble. The bright spark among them cried, let's try the internet, we can download the instructions and we'll fill our bellies yet. But the recipes they found online seemed very complicated, and pretty soon they'd given up, their appetites unsated. The hunger pains intensified and they began to yelp as the realisation hit them that they'd need to ask for help. They knew, although they'd never say, that feminists were clever, so they made a plan to trick them into helping their endeavour. They went on all the forums and the social network sites, they made awful, sexist comments, started flame wars and picked fights, and when they found a woman who seemed savvy, smart and witty, they'd say, bitch, make me a sandwich, and they'd pray that she'd take pity. The plan isn't working and they're slowly getting thinner, and it looks like the misogynists aren't getting any dinner. And when the last of them succumbs to painful, slow starvation, will we mourn their trespassing? No, we'll have a celebration. This again was written a few years ago, and a thing happened. There were a couple of little viral videos that went round. Basically, middle-aged and younger white male poets discovered a completely new verse and poetry form called rap that nobody else had found before. And then rap got really, really popular at poetry nights. And there were some people who thought that rapping is finding all of the really, really insulting slurs for various minorities and shouting them at each other. And I don't think that's not what rap is, so I wrote this in response to that, and it's called To the Rap Battle Boys. I get it. You're verbal warriors, never saying sorry because going after Corey was always the intent. You want to find the sweet spot, slip the verbal dagger in the neat slot, stab him in the sweet spot, and when you offend, you defend the offence that was always meant. I mean, seriously, guys, you look into each other's eyes, and of all the truths, half-truths and lies you could spit across the floor, each one of you relies on the same 3 or 4. You're a faggot, a bitch, pussy whipped, or your mother's a whore, all crown things, I'm sure. And yet, if you like, you can step to me, call me a gender-bending pussy bitch dyke. To my face, and at this time and place, but I'm telling you now, it's a fucking disgrace to you, to me, my identity, what I'm proud to be, for the world to see. It's a way to intimidate and humiliate your male straight mates. Because then, well, you're saying your mates are like me, and it's true. None of you can imagine a worse state to be in. I don't around dissing poetry, I think, is crap by calling it a load of rap, because I'm well versed in verse form diversity in here, out there, and I don't give a shit if you've been to university, but if what you actually do is battle with rhyme, refining your lines for your chance to shine, then now's the time to take action, because there's nobody who never made a mistake, nobody so utterly great that they've no muck of their own to rake. You don't need to insult me and my mates to get their reaction. And I keep being told that there's no offence meant. I love women and some of my best friends are bent. The misogyny and homophobia is ironic. Relax, take a trope, the fussing and making it moronic. And I'm not trying to see the poetic irony in the fact that these guys seem to be using post-ironic meta-bigotry to shut down any women or queers who don't agree. So I guess I'll go make you that sandwich. One fuck you or two in your tea. In threes here, I'm not quite sure why. So one more feminist poem, but slightly less on the nose, possibly. As I said earlier, there is indeed a pub in Bolsover on a council estate called the Castle Estate, and my favourite thing about it is that it's called the Quiet Woman, but the bus stop next to it is called White Woman. That's nothing to do with the poem, it just makes me happy every time I pass it. And I thought it was an interesting name for a pub, so I googled it, and it turns out that the Quiet Woman is named after a legend of a woman who talked too much, so her husband cut her head off. And then she was a quiet woman. I was like, oh, that's lovely. What a lovely idea for a pub. But if you've ever been to Bolsover, the women there aren't quiet. Like, women there are fucking badass, so like, it didn't work. So, kind of ruined the trigger warning now, but trigger warning for domestic violence, I guess, because guess what happens in the poem. But yeah, this is my ode to the Quiet Woman. She always had something to say and not all of it good. While other wives silently smiled or submissively sighed, she made her feelings known to her man and the rest of the village. Thought herself a cut above. Her house was a castle as grand as the one. Her house was a castle as grand as the one on the hill to hear her tell it, and believe you me, everyone did. Her husband was at his wit's end. A good hiding, the men down the pit said, to teach her a lesson. He learns, 2 black eyes and a busted lip later, that her bite was as bad as a Bolsover bark, and years of milking and mangling, mopping and mending had delivered a damn hard right hook. Of course, he tried telling the lads of a pit pony's kick and her fall, and you should have seen the other fella, but his woman spoke for him instead when they saw her 5 fingers splayed wide, still red raw on his cheek. He turned then. All evening he polished his tools, as she aired out the linen with the week's grievances, took a shovel and sharpened the edge till it shone, and then just as her back was turned, just as she paused to draw breath, he swung and silenced her. Not a man Jack of the jury blamed him. She'd driven it to him, brought it all on herself, should have remained sweet in silence and all subjection, and nasty business though it was, perhaps it was all for the best. Now and then an example does have to be set for the good of the rest. And yet somehow, in death, she spoke louder still, and the silent and submissive wives suddenly started to shriek, and their sighs became... So they suddenly started to speak, and their sighs became shrieks, and their stiff smiles cracked into cackles and curses and cries. Now the Quiet Woman stands with a coven of nattering nans, taking grandchildren out to get sweets while their mums go to work. To young women who call to each other, saying, "Give him what for, ducky, don't you take none of his shit." The Quiet Woman, silent and proud, Queen of the Castle Estate. How am I doing for time?
You've been on for 13:42 minutes.
Hey! Thank you. And you threw your voice amazingly. Okay, this is a longer poem. I really hope that I remember it properly, and it is about gender and binaries and non-binaries and things like that. She was born in the country of men. The doctor clapped a manly hand on her perspiring father's manly shoulder and announced what seemed obvious to every person in the room but her: "It's a boy." As she grew, she knew she didn't belong, felt like the butt of a joke, longed for the sugar and spice they said would be wrong, but choked on what they gave her. They said it was nice, so she tried to be braver. All the others crunched the shells and sucked the slime with glee, not she. She looked out at the desert land, scorching, endless, solitary, dead. "We don't go there," the men around her said, but beyond it, she knew was home, the country of women. Misplaced in this place, she knew in her heart what was true, what she needed to do, but when she asked the way across the desert, The men swore nobody knew. When she asked for paths, they gave her fences. When she asked for maps, they made pretences of regret and wouldn't let her read them, said she'd never need them. When she asked for water, they handed her bottles of brine, told her she'd be better off towing the line, which would have been fine, she thought, if she'd ever been on the right side of it. So she made a run for it. In spite of all the warnings, she tried to cross the desert. Although she'd seen many others die trying, she tried, crying, limbs aching, mind reeling, eyes stinging, skin peeling, lips cracked, choking on sand, and against the odds of the hand she'd been dealt, she almost made it. But the country of women had borders, armed guards who barked out orders, go back where you came from. And all the shame from a life of knowing she wasn't the same, from thinking that she was to blame, turned deep in her womanly heart into rage. And she stormed the barricade, at last unafraid. Even death in the country of women was better than being turned back. Well, who knows? Maybe she made it, perhaps she survived the attack, but that's another story. He was born in the country of women. The midwife threw a womanly arm around his glowing mother's womanly shoulder, and everyone cheered at what seemed clear to every person in the room. Every person in the room but him. It's a girl. As he grew, he knew he couldn't stay, he couldn't meet expectations, so he hid in the garden to play. But they always made him wash away the camouflage dirt and prized his slimy prizes from his fingers, wouldn't let him linger but dragged him to the kitchen to choke on something sickly sweet they told him was a treat. He tried to eat, all the others licked and sucked the sticky stuff with glee. Not he. He looked out at the desert, a desolate wasteland, burning, blinding, dead. We never venture there, the women said, but beyond it he heard it call, the dictatorship of men. Misplaced from that place, he knew in his heart what was true, what he needed to do. But when he said that he could cross the desert, they told him that's simply not true. When he asked for boots, they gave him shackles. The way he insisted there must be a way, raised hackles. He wouldn't believe them. Asked for a passport, they said he'd never need one. When he asked for oranges, they handed him nothing but rind. Told him he was better off towing the line, which would have been fine, he thought, if he'd ever been on the right side of it. Sorry, you messed it up. Told him he was better off here with his own kind, which would have been fine, he thought, if he'd ever been theirs. He was sick of their stares, so he fled. In spite of everything they said, he tried to cross the desert. Although he knew many others had failed, fallen, he trailed, calling, chest heaving, chest tightened, tied all alone, frightened, mouth parched, choking on sand, and against the odds of the hand he'd been dealt, he might have made it. But the dictatorship of men had a wall, razor wire and mines, battlements and lines of snipers ready to take aim. He heard them call, go back where you came from. And all the shame of a life knowing he wasn't the same and thinking that he was to blame turned deep in his manly soul into gall. And he tried to climb the wall, in no doubt at all. Even death in the dictatorship of men was better than being turned back. Well, he might have made it, who knows, perhaps he survived the attack, but that's another story. We were born, one way or another, with minimal fuss, but sure there was always another place waiting for us. When doctors and midwives slapped labels on our bare bottoms that seemed obvious to everyone but us, they didn't always stick. As we grew, we knew we had a long way to go. Oh, we sampled the sugar and spice, tasted plates of escargot, thought they were nice, but unsatisfying, not unable to make up our minds, just trying to find something better to eat and a way out of town. Because you offered us borders or armed guards and wondered why we turned them down. Because though others feared the burning heat, the blinding dust, not us. We looked out at the desert land. Its boundless, timeless beauty. But it's dead. We never venture there, the men and women said. They tried to stop us leaving with stories of doomed travellers. Nobody seemed to be grieving, never believing. We didn't want to get across the only other country they could believe in. They tried to tie us, tried to deny us, lied and sighed, and wouldn't do right by us, but still the desert called us home. Embraced by this place, we know in our hearts what's true and what we need to do, because when she asked the way across the desert, when he said there must be a way across the desert, we were already there. We cannot always make the heat and hunger easier for them to bear, but we are here and we can share oases, hidden wells, the succulence of cactus fruit, the way to lace your desert boots, the way to climb the desert dunes, the beauty of the desert moon, point out the route by which we came, if that's where a traveller is going. I'm not pretending we're somehow all-knowing, that we couldn't do more, but still, here we are, and we won't be ignored, and our numbers are growing. But then, those burning sands were never really empty, never dead. Come, visit if you like. Come out this way and dare to tread those burning sands you learnt to dread, or if you're on your journey home, then stop and rest your weary head. Be fed sweet cactus fruit by desert dwellers, and then continue on your route, unless, of course, you find you like it better here instead. Thank you. Ironically enough, that poem is absolutely bugger to do if you're wearing a binder. Who here has been to a poetry slam? I know, I met you all. Yeah. Okay, a couple of people. Poetry slams, like, you have to do a poem within 3 minutes, you have to compete with other people, and there are some other unwritten rules as well, and this is about those. The day I first stepped trembling on the stage to share my truth in neat pentameter, the judges said no. They said my rhymes detracted from my message, which anyway wasn't political enough. And what could be more establishment, they asked, than the verse form Shakespeare used? It's the 21st century, they said, you need to catch up. They told me to break free from the tyranny of traditional poetic forms. If the soul is a bluebird that wants to get out, then lines that rhyme and trundle along, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, those, they said, are the bars of its cage. So I started to learn. I watched YouTube videos from America and Australia and London, and I started to leave half a sentence hanging in the air, only to follow it up with a tumble of words, half sob, half gabble, all emotion, trying to convey the emotion raging deep inside of me. And then I'd link that to Brexit. And I'd do it again and again, because God forbid my poem come in under 3 minutes. Whatever the truth might be today, I had to learn how to stretch it. Because this is the way a lot of slam poems sound, because if the only poems you ever hear are this kind of slam poem, then you might start to believe that this identical intonation in Sydney, in Seattle, in Shoreditch, in Sheffield, in YouTube videos filmed in bedrooms on phones, on CDs bought after a gig and signed in Sharpie by a rising star, that's the only way a poem can sound. The day I first stepped trembling on the stage to share my truth in neat pentameter, the judges said no. They said I couldn't be a slam poet because I had been trapped by the tyranny of the tradition, the shackles of sonnet and sestine, and the crime of the rhyme coming always at the end and never in the middle of the line. And so I'm here to try and make things right and let my soul fly free the way you like. Faye did her beard poem, so I'm going to do my hair poem, which was originally a Twitter rap, and then it became a poem. Sometimes I have to be at an important work thing, and my hair decides to be Elvis. And it's like, hey everyone, I'm Elvis. And I'm like, hey, my line manager and his line manager and her line manager are right there. Could you not? And it's there smiling and strutting and singing in my important work thing. And then later, I'm like, oh, hey, hair, do you remember that Elvis thing you were doing earlier? And it's like, no, whatever, I hate you. And I'm like, no, really, hair, we're going out tonight, and that whole Elvis thing would be perfect. This is our chance to shine. And my hair's like, oh, now you want me to be creative. But you couldn't accept me for who I was before. If you're embarrassed to be singing with me in front of all your important work friends, then fine, but don't expect me to suck up to you now. If anyone needs me, I'll be here, on your head, doing an emotional interpretive dance about despair. Fuck you, Sez. Fuck you. Thank you very much.
That was an interesting way to end a set, thank you. I sometimes like to blame the fact I haven't been promoted in 6 years for the fact I accidentally once turned up to a big important meeting wearing a Supergirl outfit. But apparently my manager says that's not the reason. Who knew? But yes, I would like to thank our amazing poets. You've all been fantastic. Especially that one who went second with the purple hair, you know that one, she was great. But yeah, so thank you very much for ordering. Do please buy our books. We do have the amazing Dee Manleys to spin us some tunes. First in my life I've ever said that sentence.